back. Hopefully my signal sticks around this time. And hopefully, let's hold this. My audio is good as well. So, we're going to do another story today. What will it be about? You know, I've been having these dreams about the ocean. There's always this storm, and in my boat, I'm not quite able to hold myself steady on the deck of this boat. I'm always thrown side to side or hurled backwards when a giant wave hits the boat. I guess that's what always brings me to the ocean. I don't know any other reason why there would even be a reason behind getting anywhere near the ocean, especially given my position and given my position in the life I've lived. But I also see it as like a metaphor. You always believe you understand the boat that you're riding on. That's not always true. Sometimes, just sometimes, the boat does things that you don't ever predict. Same thing with the ocean. You could take care of your boat. You can know everything inside and out about your boat. You can know everybody who takes care of your boat. You know everybody who pulls lines and how long the lines are to each sail. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the boat is always going to survive a storm, or that you yourself will survive a storm. It's been rough since the last time I talked about another officer. In this case, it was a general, since I never gave rank. It was a general that was so gung-ho about putting other people's lives through the shredder just for his own glory. I always remember this boat. I always think back to the boat. Even though I dream about it, it's everything I can think about too. But almost near about is just all-consuming. I write it out, and always, just as I'm about to see the eye of the storm, the dream ends. And there's always interesting details around the storm's eye, is that there's always this green, very beautiful color of green, right ahead of my boat. I don't know if it's land, or if it's seaweed, or something else entirely. Couldn't tell you. There's always been this place that I wanted to go. They call it the Ivory Tower. The Ivory Tower is always marbled and always glorious to look at. The weird thing about the Ivory Tower is that there's never been any record of the actual building itself ever being constructed or ever being requested to be made where it is. And Ivory Tower is just pop up around the world, and it's baffling to most people. This Ivory Tower. It's almost marbled like a statue. I guess the best way to see it is like the Chinese dragons, or tiger-looking dragon things. And the best way to look at it. They're a lot like those, except they're made completely out of marble. Well, why they're called the Ivory Towers is because even though they are made out of marble, they have an ivory finish. Not only at the base, but at the very top. And even more interesting is if you enter this place, you always hear the ocean. You're constantly surrounded by it. It's always so calm. It's almost like walking inside of a seashell, with the way the sounds of the ocean just wash over the place. Always the inside. You can't hear any of it on the outside. I used to visit the place because it was built near the camps. If I was ever washed with horrid smells of roasting flesh or rotting flesh, I would always go to the Ivory Tower. And today I had this image of what it would be like to really just give up my single lasting belonging that I've hated so much, the uniform. Because the Ivory Tower is many things, but it has always just been a mystery. And one of the biggest mysteries is why there's like a single podium in the middle of the actual structure at base level. And then another, when you take the ascending stairs up into the middle, there's another one. I had this image in my mind after doing the usual routine in the morning, just drawing a blank to do next. The image came so fresh to me. It was just me getting to the middle podium and setting down my uniform there. There's almost like this calm feeling, but there's also something just weird about it at the very end. There's almost like a blood moon, or like a sun-dyed red, blood red. The moment I set down my uniform, move my hands away from it in the image that I see. It's hard to say whether or not that's going to happen. I've gathered all my medals and all my things onto this uniform, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it there, and I'm going to set it on that altar, because it might as well be an altar rather than just a podium. I honestly don't know how it will happen. But I know I need to put everything involving that life, those choices, all on that middle podium. top podium, I guess. Because oddly enough, even though there's no stairs that lead to the next area, it's rumored through the different visuals that we were able to get of this building was that there was a last podium, which is why I'm stuck on saying it. It's just underneath the molding at the very top, which is why I always say the middle. These buildings are about 6 stories high. Therefore, my medals, all for a job well done. Job well done. It's almost like my nights just get longer, darker, less in them. The longer I forestall the inevitable, because I know it's inevitable. I know it's coming. I know for a fact that one to wear them and genuinely be happy with it, or at least less like happy, more like willing to put up with it and bear to see the way people look at me. I said I was done. Don't you know? Since the building is so freaking tall, it will give me the kind of journey, like a pilgrimage. Because there's another interesting part about the Ivory Tower is that those who ascend the stairs go through the grieving process. And on the first step, it's always deep, stomach churning fear. Most of the people I was around, they would almost place bets, and funny enough, there would be at least 5 guys in their uniforms daring each other to take the first step because they were all betting outside, which was 15 or more of them just looking into the building and seeing who was going to take the first step and how far they could get. That place is nebulous. And it's actually funny because very few people have actually made it, as far as we know, from reports and all of that, to that podium. In some cases, people have just disappeared, went in and never came back out. It's almost like another chance. So I don't know if I could genuinely call it a second chance. I know they exist. I know that the ability to live beyond this life is a possibility. And I was genuinely thinking about it, what I could do to turn this entire situation around. And that's it. Part of me really doesn't believe that I myself that any of us, any of us soldiers deserve a second chance at life. Any of these grunts, these uniforms, more so than a face name or a rank or a medal, really the chance to come back from this, to come back from how people see us, to come back from all of it, to genuinely even get a fair shake. I want to make that first step, though. Everything in me is screaming for it. But at the same time, it feels like I'm running from something. Like I should have a sense of pride about what I've done. I know that's not possible. And I should never have pride about something like this. Nobody should have pride about choices that they've made that are wrong, whether it'll kill them or not is undecided. Whether or not what could be considered death of somebody is beyond me, because there are so many people who would be willing to throw others into that kind of misfortune, set them up for disaster. I also don't see it that way either. I know it's really fucked up to say, but there's about this. That we've always come this far. But it's more than just one person. It's more than just these people who have done something wrong. There's little to no fight, and when people should be fighting the most, it's less to do with pride. It's more like I have a desire to help the people that have wronged. But at the same time, I can't just not fault them either, because there were some that owned large businesses. They had more say than even the person behind all this, even more than me, more than the general, more than most people, but they didn't rally. They didn't come together when it really mattered. And I mean, neither did we. We took turns seeing who could go up a flight of stairs in a mysterious building for hours on end, wondering if it was even possible. None of the soldiers that ever got dared ever made it past the first step. God, there should be more than one way to live a life. Especially this. Goddamn, that's not pride. I acknowledge where I'm prideful, where I can say that we had the ability to do something about it and we didn't, because they were weaker, and we had the strength, we had the power, we had... The hell's we, anyway? There were no numbers on my side. There's excuses. Very good excuses. And on their side, too. I walked through there all the time, begging and pleading. But none of them looked to each other. They just looked at us, through us. It was like, man, there's a lot of things I would hate to say out loud, but gotta say it felt powerful. I felt powerful. It felt like I was beyond human. There was nothing that I could not do to these people, and I could get away with it. That none of them could stop me because they were all weak. There would never be a damn thing they'd be able to do about it. Like there was a power in taking power away from others. But it was bottomless. Just like that general, if I didn't realize it sooner, I'd still be drunk on something that I can't even fill. I can't even take. I can't take it. I can't take any of it with me. I would need to continue to assert myself, to dominate people in order to become that strong ever again. It was like I was finally in control of something, in control of others, in control of myself, in control of the situation. Life and death. I was both. I could stand there and be both for people I barely even knew. Names: Jerry, Jim, Jefferson, Croft. Didn't matter. They had no power, but they all looked at me like I had it. I didn't have shit. It was a swirling mass of whatever the hell they made me. I was more scared of just looking too sweaty in front of my general, in front of corporals, and in front of other people that I never really existed. Not in that world, not in any world. Neither here nor there. So sitting in that place, in that ivory tower, when I go set my uniform down, I'm gonna have to. I have to put it all aside, because even now I'm more considerate and more desiring to continue to stand on my principles, like I have any, on my pride, like I have that in whatever that general was smoking, whatever I was smoking, whatever any of the others in the uniform were smoking. Because there was nothing there. Like you could walk the halls of an insane asylum, but you made all of them insane. Do you feel like you're the same one? Because they look at you as their salvation, and you're not. You're not. You're just not the salvation. You're nobody's salvation. You're not even your own damn salvation at that moment. You're just a symbol. Which, from experience, the strongest symbol I've ever seen is the ocean. I've worn a uniform. I've done many different things. Hell, I was even a firefighter for a time before a fire broke out in an abandoned paint factory. I ended up inhaling large amounts of smoke for a long time. We went in a very large number. that day like it was yesterday. I don't really get where that pride comes from. Because out of the 5 of us that went in, only 2 of us made it out. Definitely not unscathed. Definitely not. There are better days. And it really got to me. As I lie in that bed. So I hear this machine breathing for me. Monitoring me. The concept that I damn near died didn't really stick. If anything, I thought I was blessed. Chosen to survive. Like my life is in somebody else's palms. Like I'll never exist on my own. Every time I woke up to a monitor, that's heartbeat dropped. Deadline near me. I always wake up. I woke up to look around and really just soak it in. There were so many people there at that time, hoping that the other firefighters would make it out. Whatever they did, whatever they got into, they would make it. I just soaked it in. Soaked it in so damn much I don't even remember who I was, who I was becoming. It's like it all made it so real. And this delusion of power, control. I didn't have anything like that. I just buried how scared I was. At any moment, my monitor could just drop and I wouldn't know what would come next. So in the end, I decided, seems like, to control other people's fate. As if I could control my own. Through them. Through that. So I'm gonna get that uniform. All those fucking medals. All that empty, vapor. And get rid of it for good. Get rid of it for good. No, I'm scared of what that first step will be like. It's the first goddamn step that I'm ever gonna take. It's gonna decide the rest of my life. Whether I really survive that fire or not. Whether I survived being security over the dead. Who knows? Might not even come back. And you know, that might not be too bad.